Picture the moment. You're sitting at your laptop somewhere in the middle of a Tuesday evening, and you're going through the FIFA ticketing platform one more time. You've been through this process before. You've waited in the queue. You've watched prices move. You've refreshed the page more times than you want to admit. And then, somehow, something different happens. The checkout processes. The confirmation arrives. The price on the screen says $0. Not discounted, not reduced. Zero. You've just purchased a World Cup ticket for nothing. That moment happened for approximately 60 football supporters on the 21st of May. A checkout error on FIFA's official ticketing website allocated tickets at $0, confirmed purchases, received confirmations, seats apparently reserved for the biggest sporting event on earth at a cost of absolutely nothing. For a brief, extraordinary period, those 60 people had what would have been the greatest bargain in World Cup history. Then, on the 3rd of June, 13 days later, FIFA contacted each of them directly. The governing body confirmed that the tickets had been allocated at no charge due to a prior payment issue during the checkout process. It said it regretted the inconvenience, and then it told each of the 60 supporters that their seats remained reserved, but that they had exactly 7 days to pay the original listed price in full, or lose them entirely. The dream, which had lasted nearly 2 weeks, ended with an email and a deadline. That episode, in isolation, might seem like a minor story. A website glitch, a governing body correcting its own error, 60 people discovering that their remarkable bargain wasn't going to stand. These things happen with online ticketing systems. They get corrected. Life goes on. But the FIFA free ticket story does not exist in isolation. It exists within a context that makes it one of the most revealing episodes in the entire pre-tournament period. A context in which the governing body was simultaneously being formally investigated by legal authorities in 2 American states for its ticketing practices, in which final tickets had appeared on its own official resale platform for $2.3 million each, in which prices had risen by an average of 34% between October and April, in which a Scotland supporter had described the queuing system as the definition of madness and given up entirely, in which fan organizations had called the whole approach a monumental betrayal of World Cup tradition, and in which state attorneys general had used the words gauntlet of confusion, fake scarcity, and impossibly high prices to describe what FIFA had built. Within that context, the free ticket episode is not a minor story. It is a window into something much larger. So what's really happening here? Let's start at the beginning of the ticketing story, because the glitch was not where this narrative began. It began with a decision, one that FIFA made before a single ticket was sold, and that set the terms for everything that followed. For the first time in World Cup history, the governing body announced it would use dynamic pricing, variable pricing, a model in which ticket costs changed based on perceived demand, adjusting upward as interest grows and inventory shrinks, and, in theory, adjusting downward when the opposite occurs. It is the model used by airlines, by hotels, by the concert and sports industries. It is designed to extract the maximum possible commercial value from every seat, and it is, for a World Cup, an entirely new approach. The governing body defended it in terms that were technically accurate. Prices start at $60, it said, for the cheapest group stage seats. The lowest tier exists. What was harder to explain was how those $60 seats, a limited allocation distributed through national federations rather than general sale, related to the experience of a supporter who went to the platform on a Thursday in October, looked at the price for their team's match, then returned on a Monday in April to complete the purchase, and found the price had increased by a third. That was the experience of thousands of supporters, a price they budgeted for that changed before they had completed the transaction. The dynamic pricing model operated exactly as its critics predicted, by creating uncertainty, by pushing costs upward over time, and by producing a gap between what supporters expected to pay and what they were eventually asked to pay. The attorneys general of New York and New Jersey documented that gap with specific figures. Prices for the 3 main ticket categories rose on average by 34% between October and April. Top seats for the World Cup final climbed from around $8,700 in December to nearly $11,000 by April. not a gradual drift, a significant upward movement over a period of months, driven by a pricing model that the governing body controlled entirely. The New Jersey Attorney General put it in language that left no room for misinterpretation. Being honest about ticket sales is not complicated, but FIFA has turned buying a ticket to the World Cup into a gauntlet of confusion, fake scarcity, and impossibly high prices, all at the expense of consumers and hard-working people. Her New York counterpart was equally direct. No one, she said, should be manipulated into paying sky-high prices for seats, and fans should be able to trust that the tickets they purchased will be the ones they receive.
That second sentence, fans should be able to trust that the tickets they purchased will be the ones they receive, points to the other major allegation at the center of the legal investigation. Because the price problem, serious as it is only half of what is being examined. The other half is about the seats themselves. When FIFA first opened ticket sales for matches at the stadium in New Jersey, the venue hosting 8 matches including the final, the stadium map divided the ground into 4 zones, numbered 1 through 4, with the lower numbered zones in the better positions closer to the pitch. Supporters made purchasing decisions on the basis of that map. They paid higher prices for Category 1 and Category 2 seats because those zones were represented as premium positions. Then, after those tickets had been sold, FIFA created new zones. It added a front section within each category, with better positions in each zone. Fans who had bought into the original premium categories found themselves being assigned to seats that, under the new configuration, were categorized differently from what they had originally understood when they paid. In some cases, they were placed in seats far from the field, in some cases behind the goals rather than along the sides, in some cases in positions that bore no clear relationship to what the original map had shown them. FIFA's defense of this practice described its maps as indicative rather than guaranteed. That phrase, indicative rather than guaranteed, became one of the most discussed pieces of language in the entire ticketing controversy. Because what it means, in practical terms, is that a supporter who pays several hundred or several $1,000s for a ticket based on a specific seat location cannot rely on that location being honored. The map that informed their purchasing decision was an indication, not a commitment. The governing body reserved the right to assign them somewhere else. The New York mayor stepped in and secured $1,050 tickets for city residents, a gesture acknowledged as meaningful but insufficient given the scale of what it was responding to. The California Attorney General wrote to FIFA separately, seeking information about how seat categories were represented and whether those representations changed between sale and assignment. The legal machinery around FIFA's ticketing practices was, by the time the tournament opened, operating in 3 separate American jurisdictions simultaneously. Here is the interesting part. Because the glitch and the legal investigations sit alongside each other in a way that is not coincidental, the governing body built a ticketing system of maximum commercial complexity, dynamic pricing, phased releases, zone structures that changed after sales, a resale platform carrying listings at $2.3 million per seat, and that system, under the weight of its own complexity, produced a checkout error that gave 60 people free tickets. It produced queuing systems so confusing that a Scotland supporter described it as the definition of madness and walked away. It produced price movements so significant that legal authorities in 3 states decided formal investigation was warranted. It produced the conditions in which the attorneys general described fake scarcity, a phrase that carries specific implications about how inventory was managed and displayed to the public. On the 3rd of June, the same day FIFA contacted the 60 supporters to demand payment, the governing body also posted publicly about the glitch. It confirmed the details: approximately 60 fans, checkout error, tickets allocated at $0, 7 days to pay or lose the reservation. The statement described the incident as isolated, but the word isolated is doing considerable work in that sentence, because the checkout error of the 21st of May did not occur in a system that was otherwise functioning without controversy. It occurred in a system that was simultaneously under formal legal investigation, generating complaints from fans across multiple countries, and producing resale listings at prices that no ordinary supporter could consider. The resale situation deserves its own examination. FIFA's official resale platform, the authorized secondary market through which supporters can list and purchase tickets, was carrying listings for 4 seats to the World Cup final at $2.299 million each per seat. Not a typo, not an error, a listed price on the official platform of $2.3 million for a single seat at the July 19th final in New Jersey. Those seats were in Block 124, Row 45, behind the goal in the lower deck. Not on the halfway line, not in a premium corporate section, behind a goal, at $2.3 million each.
Now, there is a specific point that needs to be made clearly about those listings. The presence of a listing on a platform does not mean a sale occurred at that price. It means someone listed their tickets at that price. Whether anyone paid $2.3 million for a seat behind the goal at the World Cup final is a different question, and there is no evidence that they did. What the listing does demonstrate is the environment the governing body's commercial model created, one in which the official resale platform carried listings so far beyond any realistic transaction price that their presence was itself a statement about the temperature of the market. The resale market's more meaningful signal came from the other direction. For a number of group stage fixtures, resale prices fell substantially, some dropping below $100 for matches that had been priced at multiples of that figure through official channels. The same platform that hosted $2.3 million final tickets was also hosting group stage seats available for under $100. That spread between the astronomical and the dramatically deflated is what a ticketing market looks like when the original pricing strategy has produced a significant mismatch between supply and the demand willing to pay the asking price. Think about what the 60 supporters with free tickets were being asked to do. They had gone through an official process, they had received official confirmation, their tickets had been reserved in the governing body's own system for nearly 2 weeks, and then FIFA, the organization that had set the prices, run the platform, processed the checkout, sent the confirmation, and held the reservation, told them the error was theirs to correct. Pay the full listed price within 7 days, or lose what the system had confirmed was yours. All 60 tickets, it emerged, were for group stage matches in Toronto. For fans who had budgeted, planned, and in some cases made travel arrangements on the basis of those $0 confirmations, the 7-day deadline and the prospect of paying full listed price was not a neutral inconvenience. It was a direct consequence of a system error that was not theirs to fault, being resolved entirely at their expense. The broader consequence of all of this, the pricing journey, the seat map changes, the resale extremes, the legal investigations, the glitch and its aftermath, is visible in the numbers that matter most. Around 80% of hotel operators across the American host cities reported bookings below initial forecasts. Aviation data showed bookings from Europe falling year on year. The Dallas Stadium Council meeting revealed between 350,000 and 490,000 unsold tickets for 9 matches. An England warm-up match in Tampa the week before the tournament drew 13,000 supporters to a 69,000-seat stadium. Those numbers are not the product of any single ticketing decision. They reflect the accumulated effect of a commercial strategy that treated the World Cup ticket as primarily a financial instrument, something to be priced, repriced, dynamically adjusted, zone restructured, and resale platformed, rather than as something more fundamental, an invitation, a promise that the game's greatest competition is open to the people who love it most, that the supporter who has followed their national team for 30 years, who has saved for a year, who has planned a journey around the hope of being present at the World Cup, that person can get a ticket at a price they can afford, for a seat they can trust will be where they were told it would be. The governing body said 500 million ticket requests demonstrated unprecedented demand. But unprecedented demand and accessible tickets are not the same thing. Demand that cannot be converted into actual purchases at prices real people can pay is not demand that the tournament benefits from. It is demand that the tournament failed to serve. And the legal investigations, the public anger, the 60 supporters who got free tickets and were told to pay up within a week, all of it is a measure of that failure. What do you think should happen next? The Attorneys General investigations will continue past the tournament. Legal proceedings in this area move slowly, but their outcomes, whether they produce fines, mandated refunds, required changes to how FIFA sells tickets at future tournaments, or formal findings about consumer protection violations, will matter for every World Cup that follows this one. The 2030 tournament, the 2034 tournament, the Women's World Cup. Every future edition of the competition will be shaped, at least in part, by what the legal authorities in New York, New Jersey, and California find when they examine FIFA's records for 2026. And the 60 supporters with the free tickets? Some of them probably paid. The deadline was 7 days. The seats were reserved. For anyone who had already made travel plans, paying the listed price was almost certainly less painful than losing the seat. But not all of them. And the ones who chose not to pay, who looked at the situation, decided they didn't owe FIFA the correction of its own error and let the reservation expire, made a statement that was small in scale and significant in character. They looked at what FIFA had built and decided they weren't going to play along. If you found this worth your time, a like helps more than you'd think. Subscribe if you enjoy thoughtful football coverage, and let me know your view in the comments. I read every one. The story is still developing, and as always, football never stays quiet for long. See you in the next one.